Okay, just a few basics for any of my guitar students. Right now I have a little bit of overdrive on a pedal. I'm going to turn it off. Get a cleaner sound. And let's just tune up to this sound. If you need to tune up, you can tune by ear to the bass E string, A, 4 strings of D, third strings of G, second string open, got a B down here, then the highest thinnest string at the bottom, another E. Just to be roughly in tune of where I'm in tune. And there's other methods of tuning, of course, you can find all over YouTube, but that will do for now. You can get a tuner app on your phone as well. So one thing that if you're doing a little bit of acoustic, and this is kind of for orienting people, including some of my students have just got their first electric guitar, and electric guitar you can play clean, but everything is definitely amplified going into your amplifier. Everything you pick up, if you don't play clean, if you don't play nice behind the fret, if you have little buzzes, that all gets amplified too. So at first you might find when you're trying to do some things, even songs that you've done on an acoustic a little bit, when you try those chords on your electric, it might make you shy because they're loud and the imperfections will be brought out. But the idea is just to get used to it and to persist, and that'll go away. The basic chords for a lot of songs that are fun to play, the good old basic chords are used. Most people will learn things like a D. So I've got 2nd fret on the 1st string, 3rd string on the 2nd fret, 2nd string, the 3rd string, you've got the 2nd fret again, so you have this kind of little delta shape. I've always seen the D as a delta shape, and you always can usually hit this 4th string open, which happens to be a D. You have already learned your C chord. 1st fret on the 2nd position is your C chord. 1st fret on the 2nd string. So I've gone all the way up to the 4th string on the 2nd fret. I got an E there, and I'm going to have another C here on the 5th fret at the 5th string at the 3rd fret. You can usually strum all of these. Doesn't sound so good always with this top E open, but it can if it's clean and your guitar is in tune. And of course there's the classic G. Got this position on 3rd fret, top string. 5th string, I've got the 2nd fret. And this is a G up here, all the way down here. On the bottom string's another G. Hopefully if you're not out of tune, that's not too bad in harmony. The F chord's very good to practice. You're going to have on the 1st fret, the bottom 2 strings are both going to be held down. And on the bottom string, this is your F, there's a root for that. Then you're going to go on the 3rd string at the 2nd fret, fourth string you're going to have at the 3rd fret. So if you just did those bottom 4 strings, the high strings, and of course a full F, you also have the 5th string held up here. So, and if you're doing the whole F chord, you're really barring the whole 1st fret, holding that. And while we're there, I want you to notice that relationship of this bar chord, which many people will learn first is an F shape chord. Its root, you can look along the notes of the very top bass string. So really when you're doing an E chord, instead of, basically the nut here is fretting all of those strings open for you. You just slide that up and now you have to hold this. There's your F note here. This is a G on the top string, so that's another way to do G in a bar chord. F, G. And another very popular thing we'll be working with is sliding this all the way up to the 5th fret, where that's an A. So you'll notice that this G tonally goes along with this G. They're both G chords. Just like right along the 2nd fret, if you take the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string on the 2nd fret, I usually hold it this way. It's your A chord that people will be taught in the open position. Since this is an A, they're both A's. And for electric guitar, you definitely, and to start off with, if you do it at the 5th fret here, and you hold what you've learned as an F-shaped chord here, all the way up here. So here's my fingering position there, on the 6th string. And then the 5th and 4th string are going to be held at the 7th fret. The 3rd string is going to be held at the 6th fret with this finger. And you're holding these bottom 2 strings with that good old, the hard working 1st finger. Now one thing that happens with chords that you need to appreciate and is very helpful is if you really only have a few of the notes from this chord, it will sound like a chord to people. So every chord has a whole selection of notes in it. Some of them are repeated at different octaves, but basically for a human ear, if you kind of have 3 tones together from a chord, you hear it as a chord. And the advantage of that for a lot of electric guitar playing is just, what if we just hit the top bass 3 strings of this chord form? You basically have a chord. It doesn't sound that different from this full A. I can slide it down here to G. So I'm just doing the top strings. Just use those top 3 strings. do that, you're going to have to make sure your fingers are always right close behind a fret. Don't put them in the middle, because you'll have to press down a lot harder to keep that string from buzzing on the fret, which will tire your hand out. You want to get right behind the fret. And you'll notice, of course, as we start doing songs up here and further down the neck, the frets change their distance with each other. So your hands have to get used to, really, as much as possible, you'll change the spacing between your fingers this way. But by doing this little sliding exercise, I want you to get used to trying to play as close to the fret that you're pressing on as possible, without going on top of it, of course, because that would deaden the string. Got an E, got an F, got a G, got an A. So that's pretty important to learn that. This same shape, which is really based on, we have an A chord here. Well, if you slid that up, because the root for this one's on the 5th string, which is open, so this 5th string open, this 5th bass string open up here, is an A. If I slid that up, I have to bar that there. A sharp or a B flat, and then if I go all the way up to here, I got a B. Same thing. Just like we can slide this basic F style shape up, we can slide up this A. And just like for this top chord here, the top 3 strings of the chord give you a chord sound. You can do it down here with this bar chord based on the A shape as well. So instead of doing 6th string, 5th string, and the 4th string, you bring it all down. We're going to do 5th string, same relative pattern though. Then I got the 4th string and the 3rd string, so I could be here. Move it right up. At this end, you got to be cleanly learning to pick just the strings that you want to pick. So I'm just going to hit the top 3 because I'm doing this top of an F chord. Now I'm going to do this A sharp, sliding it down. So I don't want to be hitting, that bass one. I want to be hitting just 5, 4, and 3. So this also can slide up. So just learn to play those notes and get your hand tired and get some strength into them and get the ache out of your fingers, toughen up the skin in your fingers by doing those little slide ups. So using the top 3 strings and then shuffling down and using the next set of 3. Because a lot of music basically uses those formats, and that's a trick to playing a lot of rock and roll, and it'll lead to stuff like this. So practice that first.